There's a part of Michigan's history that most of us were never taught. Not in school, not in textbooks, and definitely not by the institutions that helped make it happen. For more than a century, Native American children were taken from their families and sent to boarding schools across Michigan, where many were abused, neglected, and punished for speaking their language. And in some cases, they never made it home. Now, Michigan's Attorney General is reopening that history as a criminal investigation. This is So What Michigan, where we slow things down, explain why the past still matters, and shine a light on a piece of our state history that Michigan has never fully confronted. Here's the deal. Attorney General Dana Nessel has launched a criminal investigation into Native American boarding schools that operated across Michigan, some as recently as the 1980s. Her office is trying to identify criminal acts that may have occurred at these schools, document what happened, and prosecute cases where it's still legally possible. Investigators have already identified at least 8 boarding schools in Michigan, mostly in the Upper Peninsula and northern Michigan, including places like Mount Pleasant, Harbor Springs, Mackinac Island, and Marquette. Some of these boarding schools were federally funded. Many were run by churches. All were part of a national system that was designed to forcibly assimilate indigenous children. And this wasn't some fringe experiment. Nationally, the federal government funded more than 500 of these boarding schools where indigenous children were stripped of their language, culture, clothing, and names. According to the U.S. Department of Interior, at least 973 Native children are documented to have died at these schools, though researchers believe the real number is much higher. In Michigan alone, there's no complete record of how many children were taken or how many never came back. At the boarding school in Mount Pleasant alone, the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe documented 229 student deaths. Only 5 were officially recorded by the school. That's not ancient history. That's Michigan history. So why is this investigation happening now? Well, part of it traces back to a federal probe launched under the Biden administration, an effort to document boarding schools nationwide and acknowledge the trauma they caused. But Michigan's case is different. Investigators say survivors in Michigan were often younger than those in other states. Their experiences were more recent, more raw, and more personal. And there's another reason that this matters. Michigan already tried to investigate this once. The state reportedly spent $1.1 million over 3 years studying Native boarding schools, then refused to release the report. Tribal leaders accused the state of whitewashing the findings. Survivors were left with no answers. Nessel's office says this time it's different. This is a criminal investigation, modeled after the Attorney General's clergy abuse investigations. Investigators are reviewing records going back 150 years, asking survivors and witnesses to come forward and digging into church and government archives. They've also set up a tip line so people can share information, even anonymously. And while officials admit criminal charges may be rare because perpetrators may be dead or statutes of limitation expired, her office says accountability still matters. If nothing else, it will all finally be made public in a report that documents what happened and honors survivors' stories. So what? Well, this isn't just about reopening old wounds. It's about finally telling the truth after generations of silence. Michigan helped carry out a system that tried to erase indigenous identity, break families apart, and bury the evidence. And when state officials had a chance to confront that history openly, their efforts fell short. Now, for the first time, Michigan is treating this not as a footnote in one of the darker chapters of our state history, but as a potential crime. If you think accountability shouldn't expire just because time passed and that survivors deserve to be heard, then this investigation matters. Hit follow. I'll keep tracking what Nessel's office uncovers over the months ahead, who cooperates, and whether Michiganders are finally ready to face what they tried to forget.